they do. They walk in and say, well, what do you guys do here anyway? Yeah. What's your best-selling product? What's your best-selling? The rule is this. In order for you to be a highly profitable personal services business, is you never ask a question, the answer to which is available somewhere else. Because it just shows complete lack of professionalism. After that, your credibility is shot. You can't make a second, you don't have a second chance to make a good first impression. Are you with me so far? So it's really important. Okay, so that's the first one, specialization and credibility. Now the second principle in strategic marketing is my favorite of all, and it's differentiation. And differentiation says, and basically the rule is all sales, all marketing is differentiating your product or service from that of others. Now lead generation just says, here is a product or service that will do, or will give you this benefit. Anybody interested, they raise their hand. That doesn't mean that they'll buy it from you. It just means that they're interested in that benefit. Okay, now, your job in everything that you do is to differentiate yourself from anybody else who offers a similar product or service. Because when the customer starts off, as far as the customer is concerned, you're all the same. You're all the same. It's almost like you're Tweedledum and Tweedledee. So everything you do is to differentiate, which means that you have to be aware of three critical things. Number one is you have to ask yourself, what is your area of excellence? What is your area of excellence? Now, your area of excellence is where you are better than 90% of your competitors. One area of excellence can be you specialize in a particular industry and you have proven, demonstrated experience in that industry. So you have to ask yourself, where are you excellent? And here are the two really important words. Where could you be excellent? Where could you be excellent? Where should you be excellent if you want to be a big success? Can you accomplish this area of excellence overnight? No. Sometimes it takes many years. According to Jim Collins' book, Good to Great, it takes 7 to 11 years for a company to go from good to great. It's when but they are on their way the whole time. So what is your area of excellence today? If someone were to say to you in a meeting, in what way are you excellent in your business? What way are you better than 90% of your competitors? What would your answer be? And you have to be absolutely crystal clear about your answer, and you have to build all your marketing around it. Number two, in terms of differentiating, number one, is what is called your area of superiority. Now, your area of superiority is where you are superior to your competitors. It is something that you do or that you offer that makes you superior, that makes you better than anybody else who's offering it. Now, your area of superiority can be something as simple as the fact that you have a great personality and that you like the client and the client likes you. Or you have a connection with family, friends, or something else. It can be just you, the person. Or, ideally, it is the services that you offer. Your area of superiority is that you have more in-depth service, you've done more, or experience, you've done more in-depth work in this particular product or service area than anybody else. Others generalize and you specialize. And then the third area, which Joe talked about and which Herschel talks about, is what is called your unique selling proposition. Now, since you are all wordsmiths and you understand words, what is the characteristic of unique that no other that makes it unique? What's the word I'm looking for? What's my mind? Not adverb, but adjective. What is the quality of the word, of the adjective unique, that makes it separate from any other word? Any other adjective? What is it? It's one of a kind. That's very important. In other words, it cannot be uniquer or more unique or less unique or better or anything else. It is only unique. It only means one. So when you ask what is your unique selling proposition, it means what is it that you offer that nobody else offers. You are unique. There's no one else that has the same thing. It is one and only. And you always have to have a one and only. And sometimes your one and only can be that you invest far more hours on a client's account. Sometimes your one and only could be that you live closer to the client. Sometimes your one and only could be that you have specialized knowledge and experience in an industry that most people who write copy don't have in that industry. But you have to know what it is, and that becomes the organizing principle of all of your marketing. You focus on where you're excellent, where you're superior, where you're unique. And if you don't have them, then the next question is, what could they be? What should they be? What could they be? And here is what could it be? What should it be? And sometimes it's something that's very obvious, something that jumps out at you. But there's a rule. Remember Jack Welch's rule? If you don't have competitive advantage, don't compete.
If you don't have a unique selling proposition, you can't compete. You can't go into a market and be a Me Too person unless you just basically want to worry about money for the rest of your life. So here's the third key to marketing strategy, and the third key is segmentation. And segmentation means that you look at your market and you ask yourself, who is your target market? Based on your area of specialization, based on your unique selling proposition, your area of superiority, who's your target market? Even ask yourself, who is your ideal customer? If you could have any customer at all, who would be the very best customer? Who is your perfect customer? Who would be the perfect client for you? Now, the way that you do this is you say, based on what I specialize in and what I'm really good at, who are the clients who most appreciate and will most readily pay for what it is that I do better than anybody else in my area of specialization? So the word is, where can you add the most value? Where can you add the most value? And this is the key to creating wealth, add the most value. Which customers most appreciate what you offer? If, for example, I had problems with my left hip for a long time, and my kids used to I thought it was a muscular thing, so I took yoga and stretching and everything else, and my kids used to joke, and I would be walking along like this because my kids would walk along behind me going, and I'd catch them at it, and pretty soon people were saying, are you all right? Are you all right? Are you all right? And I was doing physical therapy or physical training and so on. Finally, the guy said to me, he said, you know, it may not be muscular, it may be a joint. You should go and see a specialist, an orthopedic specialist. I said, who would you suggest? Well, he had a contact with a doctor at Scripps Hospital in San Diego, who I learned later, his name was Dr. Cliff Caldwell. And this is the hip surgeon's hip surgeon. This is where doctors who have hip problems go, and they fly from all over the world. And so I got in to see him. It took me about a month to get in to see him. This guy is a genius. He's a genius. He's like Zorro with a sword. He's just like a magician. And so he came in, I do the x-rays, and I'm sitting there, he comes in, takes the x-rays, puts them up on the wall, says, yep, hip's gone. And he said, the other one's going too, but this one's gone already. He said, so this is a completely optional exercise, or optional operation. You can have it now, you can have it later, you can have it whenever the pain gets too great. In other words, doesn't matter to me, because I found out he's busy for months, years in advance. So I finally had my hip replaced. And I had my hip replaced by him because he was the best. He was superior. And by the time I had my second hip replaced at last, 5 years later, the first operation was 3.5 hours. His technology had improved so well he could do it in 1 hour and 45 minutes. The difference was 1 week in the hospital recovering from the anesthesia and everything else. The second operation, 1 hour and 45 minutes, I walked out the next day. Walked out with a new hip. I mean, the guy's genius. Somebody said, you know anything about Cliff Caldwell? Yes, best in the country on hip surgery. Or at least one of the best in the country in hip surgery. And people line up, pay him any amount. You never even ask the amount. Never even ask the price. They line up, when can you do it? Please, can I get in? They fly from all over the country just to be operated on by Cliff Caldwell. That's what we want people to do. When they think about advertising copy, when they think about what you specialize in, they want to say, you're the one. You're the one. Okay? So segmentation is you must be clear. And there's a question, by the way. It's a wonderful question for networking. We talked about networking a little while ago. Is when you're networking, you're in a meeting, you're in your sessions at lunchtime and so on, one of the great questions, if you're at a business meeting with people in different businesses, is to say, what would I have to know to recommend clients to you? What would I have to know about what you do to recommend clients to you? Who would be the perfect client for you? I mean, ideally. I mean, so I can search my memory bank and see if I know anybody I could send to you. One of the most wonderful things you can do in networking is to send people business. If you send people business, you'll have friends for life. And not only that, because of the law of reciprocity, they'll do everything possible to reciprocate. But by the law of sowing and reaping, the more you give, the more you get. So anyway, my point is this, is if a person were to ask you, what would I have to know about you and what you specialize in, your area of excellence, in order to recommend people to you? And what would you answer? And you must have an answer. Say, oh, well, I write copy. No, I'm sorry. That's like quality and service in Herschel's presentation. No, not acceptable. Is I specialize because I do this in a precise way. I have this wonderful way of discovering the emotional hooks in a particular service and expressing that in a headline so that people call up and buy or at least respond in much higher levels than people who don't. So than in my competition. And the fourth area is concentration. And concentration means that you focus. You focus on just those clients who could most benefit from what you sell. Whenever you say, who's your ideal client, people say, oh, everybody who needs advertising. No, that means you have no idea what you're doing. You have no idea. You shouldn't even be allowed out of the house because you're a danger to yourself and others. You have to specialize. You have to focus. You're not a machine gunner machine gunning the market. You pick your shots. You think through carefully who it is that you specialize with, who can most benefit from what you do, and you focus on getting to those people. And I'll tell you, this is really the key to success in the future. Concentrate, focus all of your time, focus all of your energy, focus all of your promotion on just those clients who can most benefit the most rapidly. For example, if you sell headache remedies, who are you looking for? Person who's got a headache. And when do they have a headache? When do they have a headache? Now. They got the headache now. There's a basic rule in advanced selling that says this, and we'll touch on this in a couple of minutes, but it says this, is people need to have, a good person needs to have a problem unsolved, or they're not a client, or not a prospect, or they have to have a need unsatisfied. They have them now. They have them now. They have them right now. In other words, you sell fire extinguishers and their hair is on fire. You know, this is a good prospect because they need what you're selling now. You're looking for people who need what you're selling now. So these are the three. First of all, specialize and determine your area of specialization. You cannot be good at everything. The very best copywriters and the highest paid are ones who specialize in specific areas and then become absolutely excellent in something that is of importance and value to your client. Number three is to determine your target market, your ideal customer, and then fourth is to concentrate on that market. Concentrate single-mindedly. Well, this brings us to the second part of pumping up your profits, and it's what I call the marketing mix. Now, you've all heard about the marketing mix, but let me just touch on it quickly. It has, in my model, it has 7 parts. In fact, I have a marketing mix like this. I'll give you the 7 parts. This is my model. We teach this in our advanced coaching programs. So we say the basic marketing mix has 4 parts. And first of all is the product or the service. And you always define your product or service in terms of what it does for your client. People don't say, if I were to say to you, what do you do for a living? If you say, I write copy, that's not a definition of your product or service. Because nobody cares what your product or service is. They only care what it does. So you always describe your product or service and the product or service of any of your clients in terms of what it does to improve the life or work of the prospective customer. Of all the products and services in the world, there's only one thing that customers buy. What is it? Solutions. That's a good point. What they need? The answer is improvement. Is all people buy is improvement. From the beginning of history, 6,000 years ago, from the first open markets, people buy an improvement. They believe that your product or service will help them improve their life or work or some way. They'll help them improve their business, improve their sales, improve their customer lead generation, and so on, as they seek improvement. They seek that your product or service will help them to do it better than they're currently doing it. Because if they do not see or perceive an improvement in their situation, they will not act. They will say, let me think about it, leave it with me, do a proposal for me, leave me some information, I'll get back to you next year. Have you heard any of these things before? It's because they don't perceive the improvement. So everything that we do in life is to improve people's life or work in a cost-effective way. And the improvement that they want from you more than anything else is greater lead generation. Is that true? If you're in advertising, it's greater response rates. What is it that all business people want to do? Can you guess? It's one thing. They want to sell more of their product or service. That's what they want to do because the business of America is business. And the purpose of a business is to create and keep a customer. And so therefore, that's the reason that they hire you. So you have to be clear about what the product does. And by the way, when you're writing copy, forget about all the details and brochures and everything else. It's helpful to know. But what you want to know is specifically what the product does to improve the life or work of the customer. And of all the things that the product does, what's the one thing that will elicit the greatest response the very fastest? Because if you can make that electrical connection, like an electrical arc, it'll cause the phone to ring. Some years ago, I was doing a seminar in Ada, Michigan, actually Grand Rapids. And I was doing it with a group of promoters. And they told me this interesting story because I spoke to the advertising guy who wrote the copy. Anyway, they'd been advertising and running ads on the radio. And so this gentleman, his name is Barry Lebov, L-E-B-O-V. And he has an agency in Grand Rapids called Lebov and Beyond. Isn't that cute? Cute name. Anyway, I was talking to him on the phone because he talked to me. He phoned me to ask me some questions. He had called up the promoters, and they had been running ads on the paper and running ads on the radio. And they were telling me privately that they weren't getting much response. So then they got a phone call from this guy, and he said, "How's the promotion going? I heard your ads on the paper." They said, "Oh, it's going really well. It's going great. We're really happy, expecting a lot of results later on, cumulative effect." Whenever the advertising is no good, people say, well, you need a cumulative effect. You need to run it more often. If it's not working, then do it harder. Anyway, he said, well, I have only one question for you. And they said, yeah, what's that? He said, is your phone ringing? And there was a silence. And they admitted, well, no, they're running all these ads, but the phone wasn't ringing. People were not registering for the seminar. He said, give me the account. He said, and I'll get your phone ringing, or you won't have to pay me anything. And he went back, he called me up, he identified the critical benefits that people would get from attending this seminar. He put the advertising together in such a way that if you didn't attend, you'd be crazy, especially if your competition did. He ran these ads, and the seminar had about 100 people in it. After 6 weeks of advertising, within 2 weeks, it had more than 1,000 people. The phones rang off the hook. They had to bring in their children and their wives and their friends to answer the phones. The phones just went crazy because the advertisement was focused on the specific benefit, not the fact that a seminar is going to be offered, but what the seminar will do for you in your career. Are you with me so far? So it's really important to keep focused on what does it do? What does it do? Not what it is. And we work with our entrepreneurs all the time. We say, tell me about your business. And they always describe, I sell insurance. No, you don't. You sell security and peace of mind. No, but we sell the finest insurance packages, estate planning. No, you sell taking care of the most important people in your life if something accidentally were to happen to you. You don't sell a thing. You sell an experience. You sell a feeling. You sell how the person will feel as a result of using the product. Anyway, I'm getting off. I don't mean to duplicate what you already learned. So the second is the price. Now this is really important. It's one of the hand-biting, white-knuckle parts of any business is setting the price, establishing the price. And you can tell if your price is correct. How can you tell? The amount that you charge is correct. How can you tell? You're fully busy. You're fully booked. People are buying you at that price. When do you raise your prices? When you have too much business and you try to discourage business. The only time you raise your price is to discourage, in other words, to limit the amount of business to the amount of business you can deliver. If you are overwhelmed, you've got work that takes you 7 days a week, it means you're not charging enough. So therefore, what you have to do is you have to constantly think about, am I charging the right price? Should I have an introductory price? Should I have a discount price? Should I have staggered prices? Should I have bundled prices? Should I break my services down into separate prices? And you know more about this than I do, but you have to keep revisiting the issue of price because people are very price sensitive, especially if they have no other basis of comparison. The third part of the marketing mix is what is called the place, is where do you sell? In what place do you make contact? Do you make contact on the internet? Do you make contact face-to-face, person-to-person? Do you make contact on the phone? Do you work out of your home? Do you work out of your office? And so on. Let me tell you a quick story, which I thought was cute. No, I'm sorry, I'll come back to this in a second. I'm getting ahead of myself. So the place is really important. Where are you going to work? Are you going to work in a certain geographical area? Are you going to go and see clients, or the client's going to come to you? But the place is important. And what I would suggest, people say, well, I can work anywhere in the country. Well, that's true, but much of your work, at least initially, is going to require face-to-face contact with your customers. Very hard to do any kind of long-term work by telephone or by email. You've got to somehow make that chemical, that emotional connection with clients. And so I know many people who say, I'm only going to work within 50 miles of my home. I'm only going to work with people that I can work with face-to-face. Now, as it happens, there are 20,000 businesses in America per million population. So we have 300 million people in America now, or slightly more, times 20,000 is what's that? 12 million businesses? Actually, it's about 12 million businesses that actually report to the income tax department, which means they have staff. That means there's 12 million people. There's 20,000 businesses within a million people. In southern Florida, there's probably several hundred thousand businesses that could be your clients. You don't have to travel all over the world to find clients. In fact, if you can't find clients here, traveling all over the world may not be a good idea. The fourth P is promotion. And promotion is how you sell, how you market, how you advertise, how you get the goods out of the woods. Now here's an interesting point. If you are selling your services to show people how to attract leads, is to market, to bring in people who are interested in buying, if you can't do it yourself, something's pretty wrong here. So we need to become really, really good at lead generation for ourselves, and we want to become really, really good at lead generation for our clients. Is that true? Say yes. So on a scale of 1 to 10, keep grading yourself. How good are you? How good is your product or service relative to your competitors? How good are your prices? Are your prices correct? And always be open to the possibility that you may be wrong. Are you selling in the right place, and do you have the right promotion? And of course, this is advertising, and this is sales, and this is follow-up, and there's all the different things that you do to actually translate a prospect into a customer. Now, the next P's are things that I've added on, and the first is called packaging. And this is where I wanted to talk about. Packaging is the look. Now, human beings are about 95% visual in their first impressions. Is what they see is what impacts them more than anything else. We say there's 22 times the nerves from the eye to the brain is from the ear to the brain. So what people see has 22 times the impact of what they hear. And what counts with regard to packaging? Everything counts. Everything counts. Every single part of your visual appearance counts. And I am so disappointed. I see people who are bright and smart and intelligent and well-educated and ambitious and desirous and so on and so forth, and they go in front of a client and they look like they fell off a watermelon truck and were beaten up before they came into the office. And they think, well, it's okay because I'm selling my intelligence and my creativity and everything else. But human beings are hit by your visual appearance like a wave. Wham! It hits them so hard that in 4 seconds they decide whether to use your services. Within 30 seconds, they've finalized their opinion of you, and from then on, they're just going through formalities. And I've worked with countless people, and by the way, I won't go into this because I can always tell the highest paid people in any room. You. I know exactly who they are because of the way they look. Why? It's because human beings make a lot of decisions based on superficialities, not based on your talent or skill. They don't even get that far. They just make a decision based on superficiality. So one of the things that I recommend that you do is go out and buy a book or two on Dress for Success in Business. There's some of the best books based on the best research on how to make the greatest and the best impression, the proper colors, the proper grooming, the proper everything that you can get, and with some modifications in your appearance, dramatically increase your perceived credibility, your verisimilitude. And it's really important that you do that because what counts? What counts? Everything counts. Everything counts because you're asking a person to give you money in exchange for what? You're asking a person to give you money in exchange for promises. You say, you give me, I'll give you some promises that this copy will be good and will work, or that my services will be good. And you give me some money that I can go and spend right now. I'd like some money up front. I'd like some money as we go along. In other words, you're asking a person to take a big risk. And people have been burnt over and over again. So your job is not to give them any reason not to believe you, trust you, to have to perceive you as credible. Are you with me so far? Really, really important. Okay. Oh, damn, I love this stuff. Okay. The next is positioning. And positioning is the way that you are thought about and described by your customers. The whole thing of positioning, Joe's an expert in this. You could talk about this all day long, positioning, because it's so important. It's basically how do people think about you and talk about you when you're not there? What is the way they think about you and talk about you, and especially how do they describe you to others? After you leave their office and they turn and say, who were you just with? Well, so-and-so. Well, what was it like? Well, what did they say? How are you positioned with your clients? And the other question is, how would you like to be positioned? And the critical thing that you're looking for is the words. And we could spend a lot of time on this, but basically you're looking just for the words. What are the words that you want people to use after they have spoken to you? When someone says, what is your name, sir? Larry. And what is your name? Carrie. So let us say Carrie asked me about you, and I know you, I've done business with you, I've worked with you. Tell me a little bit about Larry. What do you know about him? What would you want me to say? And if he was a prospective client, what would you want me to say? Does superb work? He's a great, super person to work with, does great work, he's punctual, his advertising really works, causes the phone to ring off. Is that what you want them to say? Now, if that's what you want people to say, then what do? You make sure that every single customer contact and every customer interaction builds that perception. Because perception is reality. Is what all top companies and all top professionals do is they're constantly aware of the perception that they're creating, and they work to shape the perception. They work to shape the perception so the person thinks of them as qualified, competent, positive, personable, excellent at what they do, easy to work with, and so on. It is so important. In my office, it's been my philosophy all my life, but we try to make it easy for customers to deal with us. Easy for our clients to deal with us. It's been my philosophy, and I teach that in selling. Be easy to work with. Be really easy to work with. Be pleasant, be accommodating, be there on time, be punctual with your assignments, do your preparation. Be easy to work with. Make it easy for people to choose you rather than someone else. And so the very best compliment that I ever get is people say, working with your office is the easiest that we've done in the world market. I speak with people all over the world, and they say, working with your office is so easy. You people are so good. They're so punctual. They're so pleasant. They're so polite. They get back to you immediately. And I think, I'll go back and I thank my staff, because that's the perception I want people to have. And it's amazing. I did 29 talks for IBM. And about halfway through this series of talks, which lasts for about 3 years, I said, I really appreciate your hiring me, because it's wonderful. They pay well, wonderful group of people to work with. I said, well, why do you choose me? There's lots of great speakers out there. He said, you're the easiest person to deal with. He said, you're always accommodating, you're always on time, you're always prepared. Once we make an arrangement with you, we never have to think about it again. If you have any questions, your staff takes care of everything. Everything's always delivered on time. He said, it's just so we have to say, who are we going to get for this? Well, let's get Brian, because it's so easy to deal with. And I would like to think it was because I'm such a great talent, which we are. So positioning is important. Think about the words that you want people to use, and then make sure that everything that you do is consistent with the words that you want people to use to describe you. And the last has to do with the people. And remember, the people, yourself and the people in your business, are 85% of your business. So as they say, good companies don't hire people and teach them to be nice. They hire nice people. And so it's important that every customer contact, every single customer contact, every single phone call, every single word, email is by someone who's pleasant, positive, enjoyable. Because as Herschel said, as Joe said, people are extremely emotional. And they respond in a positive way to positive people, cheerful people, friendly people, happy people, nice people, helpful people, and so on. And it's amazing. Some of the most talented people out there don't get a chance to use their talents because they're aggravating people. You know the old saying, when you first meet them, you don't like them, but after you get to know them, you hate their guts? Well, they're like that. Okay, here's the last one, and then I've got a couple of things I have to show you, but it has to do with customer service, and this is really the importance. We say the purpose of a business is to create and keep a customer. So what is the critical determinant of creating and keeping customers? In other words, what is the sole aim and the central core aim of any business? And the answer is customer satisfaction. It's customer satisfaction. This is the sole aim. Customer satisfaction. And how do you measure customer satisfaction? This is the key measure of your success, and the answer is repeat business. Now, we could talk about this all day long, but as I said, I know you're some of the smartest people in the West, so you can take this quickly, but repeat business is the key. Repeat business is where customers tell you that you have satisfied them. Sometimes I say, what is the most important sale in working with a client or a customer? What's the most important sale? And they'll say the first sale. I say, no, because you can get the first sale by personality, by promises, by deception, by discounts. You can get the first sale in a variety of ways. The second sale is the most important. Why is that? Because the second sale is the customer's way of saying to you, you delivered on your promises. You did what you said you would do. Your product or service was the quality that you represented it to be when I made my first decision. So the second sale is the key. All success is dependent upon the second sale. All success is dependent upon the second sale. And so therefore, everything you do has to be aimed at the second sale. And this brings us to what I call the 4 levels of customer service to pumping up your profits. Number 1 is the first level, which used to be, by the way, the measure that people set as their standard, is to meet expectations. Hey, they would brag, we meet expectations. We meet customers' expectations X number of time, or 97% of the time. Today, because the competition is so fierce, meeting expectations merely enables you to survive one more customer. Survive to one more customer. Meeting is no longer enough to get ahead. It just keeps you. It's almost like a person treading water, keeps their nose just above the water. Just above the water level. You will never make any progress. You'll just survive. So the second level is to exceed expectations. And this is to do things that customers did not expect. It's just little things, just to exceed expectations. And there's all kinds of ways that you can exceed expectations. Sometimes the store owner will take the person to the door and open the door and say, thank you for coming, as opposed to ringing it up at the cash register and waving goodbye. Sometimes they carry it out to the car for them. What is it that Walmart does that they're so famous for? Greeters. The only company in the world that does greeters. And everybody says, oh, look at those old Walmart people. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing? Biggest damn retail operation in the history of man on earth? Are you kidding? They know what they're doing. And so when people get older and they can't run around the stores, they just have them be greeters. And some of them just sit there and be greeters. Say, welcome to Walmart. Thanks for coming. Isn't that nice? I mean, it's a small thing, but it starts people off as they go shopping with kind of a happy glow. Somebody said, thank you for coming, which never happens anywhere else. So exceeding expectations. The baker's dozen, you buy a dozen rolls, the baker puts in an extra one, just gives you a little benefit, a little something extra. So always be looking for ways where you can do something a little bit extra. Now the third is to delight your customers. And you delight your customers, that goes beyond exceeding expectations. You delight your customers by doing something that causes them to light up, that really connects with them emotionally. Like IBM. You know what they used to do? When a salesman made a great sale, they'd send a bouquet of roses with a gift certificate to a first-class restaurant home to the wife. And when the wife got home, there'd be a bouquet of roses and a gift certificate to a first-class restaurant and say, your husband made a great sale this week, and we, the company, really appreciate you. What do you think impact that would have when you get home at night and your wife's sitting there with a dozen roses and a gift certificate to a great restaurant? I mean, would that kind of delight you? Would that make people motivated to go out there and kill for IBM? You bet your bippy. That's why IBM, by 1983, IBM had 80% of the world computer market. And just why? Because those people were so excited about selling for IBM, and customers were so excited about buying. I mean, they didn't even know why. But all right. Number four is you amaze your customers. You amaze your customers. And these areas of customer delight and customer amazement are areas that are basically based on your imagination. What can you do to amaze your customers? And it doesn't have to be a huge expense. It's something that connects with them emotionally. Sometimes it's a personal letter written in your own handwriting telling them what a pleasure it is to work with a person like you and how much you've learned from them and how much you've gained from your association with them. I mean, it's just something personal. Maybe it's a birthday card to their home. Maybe it's a present for one of their kids because they heard that one of their kids is doing something. Something that's not expensive. But you should always look at it reinvesting about 5 or 10% of all of your revenues back into appreciating your clients, into delighting and amazing your clients. Put it back in, and my promise to you is that it will come back tenfold, 20-fold. So it's really important. Well, this brings us to the final point with regard to pumping up your profits. And we say in the final analysis, the key to business success is to get referrals. Is to get repeat sales and to get referrals. Now, my friend Fred Reichhold at Bain & Company has done about 50 years of research into customer service. And what he's come up with is a concept which he calls the ultimate question. And it's based on years and years of research. He has installed it now into many of the biggest companies in the world, and it transforms the business completely. And the ultimate question, he says, after you've taken every customer survey and every analysis and every poll and every telephone call and everything else, is summarized in the ultimate question. And the ultimate question is this, is would you refer us to others? Would you refer or recommend me to others? He said it can all be summarized in the answer to this question. And what he does in the book, and you don't need to read the book because I'll give you the essence of it right here, is he asks them on a scale of 1 to 10, how comfortable would you be referring me to other people based on the way that I have taken care of you? And Joe was asking that 1 to 10 question a little bit earlier too with regard to speaking. So you have to ask this question. If you were to ask your clients, and most people don't want to know, if you were to ask your clients on a scale of 1 to 10, based on the way that I have worked with you, would you recommend me to others? Because the very best business you'll ever get will be referral business. When you walk in with referral business, you're piggybacking on the what of the person who sent you? The credibility. You walk in with all the credibility. You don't have to make proposals and make sales and talk and come back for week after week or month after month. They say, this is my person, you should use them. They walk in and they say, when can you start? Referrals, by the way, are 15 times easier to get than cold calls. They take 1/15 of the energy. 1/15 of the time and energy to make a sale to a referral, a positive referral, than to a cold call. So the critical organizing question for you for the rest of your career, and this is where everything that we do, product, place, promotion, packaging, positioning, people, specialize, differentiate, segment, concentrate, everything in business comes down to this essential question. Is, based on your experience with me, would you recommend me to others? On a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel? And what they found in their years of surveys is that people who rate you 9 or 10 on this scale of 1 to 10 will be responsible for 85% of your future business. And that you could basically get rich by making sure that everything you do happens in such a way that people say, yes, I would willingly recommend you to others. I will take you to others. I will bring you to my friends. I will set up a lunch. I mean, people who are happy with your services will open every door for you, will assure that you sell more and more, better and better, higher and higher, at higher and higher prices, and that you eventually become rich. Is that a good goal? Say yes. Okay. So always ask this question. Have the courage to ask this question. And if they give you a grade anywhere below 9 or 10, then ask them, what would I have to do to get a 9 or a 10 grade from you? And the most amazing thing is this. They say, well, if you just did this or did that or more of this or less of that, and you do it, you know what happens? Is they will then grade you at a 9 or a 10, and they'll open every door for you. They say customers will do a transformation if you ask them how you can improve, and then they tell you, and then you do it, and you tell them I did it. Because they will then say, aha, then they'll open doors for you. So very powerful. Is this a useful principle? Say yes. Okay. Now, I brought a couple of audio programs here. You, as I said before, you are the 5% who understand the importance of continuous learning with regard to success. The people who are continuously learning have an edge over the people who aren't, just like the athletes who are in continuous training have an edge over the people who aren't, and of course that's why you're here. So what I've done is I brought some of my programs here, and we have a special offer today. They're all free. It's an IWA type of free. I'll explain what I mean in just a second. The first of these programs is called The Psychology of Achievement. The Psychology of Achievement is my best-selling audio program in the world. It's now in 23 languages in 38 countries. It's sold millions of sets. And what it does is it shows you how to transform your thinking from the inside out. It shows you how to raise your self-esteem and self-confidence, how to set goals in every part of your life, how to unlock your subconscious and superconscious mind. It explains the law of attraction in detail. It explains how to get along wonderfully with other people, how to release your subconscious brakes, which hold us back, and how to manage any kind of stress or problem. It shows you how to program your mind for success in 21 different ways. Does anybody listen to Psychology of Achievement, by the way? Is it a good program? Some people say it's the best program ever recorded in the audio medium, and who am I to argue? And so it comes like this. They all come like this, so they're very easy to carry, easy to listen to. They even come with a little guide in the back here so that you can actually go from session to session like you would go from song to song on a CD. It's beautiful stuff. Beautiful stuff. Now this is called the Universal Laws of Success and Achievement. This is a phenomenal program. It's got something like 153 laws that have been pulled out over the entire history of man, philosophy, religion, metaphysics, history, and so on. And they're the laws of life, the laws of success, the laws of achievement, the laws of relationships, the laws of health, the laws of time, the laws of leadership, the laws of entrepreneurship, the laws of money, the laws of good fortune. It's a phenomenal program. The Universal Laws of Success and Achievement. And they just only recently brought it out on CD because it was actually an 8 cassette, about 90 minutes per cassette. So